Baby, 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 hello.
Hi, is that your watch?
Yeah, it is. Go away.
I figured that from this message you might have had a glass of wine.
What gave you that impression? That's a ridiculous thought. I do clapping now. Goodbye.
Wait.
1, 2, 7.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing. I have had a glass or two of wine.
Because, dear listeners, we're recording on a Sunday evening.
And I have... Don't kill the pig, Jeffrey! What did I just say about that? I have only relatively recently got back from a trip.
From one of your houses. One of your international houses.
From one of my international properties. And
you're like an oligarch, aren't you?
I am like an oligarch with less money and fewer scruples.
Were you tempted to buy a football team this week?
No, you know I don't like football. Oh, I'm so sorry about Shane Ward. Don't.
He's got his name wrong.
Is he not called Shane Ward? Oh, shit. What's he called? Blonde haired.
Oh, don't.
Oh, my mother's shipwreck.
Shane Warne.
That's what I said. Oh, yeah, I said Ward, didn't I?
Twice.
Shane Warne.
Yes.
Oh, come on. He wouldn't mind. It was close enough.
It was.
I'm sorry that he's on my mother's spread list, not shipwreck, which is what I was going to say.
You didn't going to say this is going to be a shipwreck, given just how you've begun. Can you even string a sentence together? Go on, give it a go. Give it a go.
No, I can't.
Go on.
I can't be bothered.
I'm going to turn your video off so I don't get jealous.
Yeah, of my drunkenness.
Of your glass of wine, actually.
Do you not have wine in the house? Jeff! Seriously, mate, we've had this convo.
It's a school night.
Kiddo. What do you mean it's a school night? Since when's that been an issue?
See, the thing is, what you don't understand.
Oh, God, you sound like my dad. Go on.
I'm
Go
just
on,
going
Simon,
to
tell me what I don't
take it
understand.
as a compliment. Is that I'm
Make a long list.
5 years older than you. Yeah, and those 5 years in terms of how one's body copes with alcohol on a school night or any other night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Got you. I'm still feeling D-mob happy because of the whole I've been travelling.
You've been foiling.
Foiling?
Yeah, you said I'm foiling. I'm still foiling feeling.
I'm still foiling feeling. I'm still feeling D-mob happy because I've been travelling. So I still technically feel like I'm on holiday.
Oh, that's
because
nice.
I'm still on leave until tomorrow morning.
Oh, so you come back from work tomorrow morning?
Yeah, work in the morning.
Hey, and was it a good holiday?
It actually was a very, very good holiday. I spent quite a lot of time with my parents. They came up to Lisbon to see us, which is a rare occurrence.
Oh, amazing.
Usually we go down to see them.
Did they take the train?
So
Or they drove?
They took the train, and they had a high old time being Lisboetas. So
did they stay in your place, or did they stay?
They stayed in our place. Yeah.
Wow.
Although my dad, within the first 15 minutes of lying down, complained about the state of the spare bed.
Well, it's a classic in the sense that you don't want it to be so comfortable that people stay too long.
Well, this is so uncomfortable that nobody would even think about seeing the night through. What happened was we were gifted this bed by somebody that my parents know who said this is the single most uncomfortable piece of furniture ever. It doesn't make a good sofa or a good bed. And it's true. You can't sit on it comfortably or lie on it comfortably.
So I guess it's one of those ones you could put out on. Do they do that in Lisbon, where people put things out on the street hoping that other people will come and collect them?
Oh my God, yeah. We have got rid of so much stuff.
Oh,
I got
right.
rid of a yoga mat just the other day.
Ah, you've got a lot of those. You reminded me that I really need to wash my yoga mat.
Do you have one of those like slightly cellular versions, or do you have the Manduka that I have?
I have a Manduka.
Okay, so you can just scrub it down with a brush.
Yes, I would actually use a little bit of watered down vinegar with or I'd spray some vinegar on it, then wipe it. I wouldn't scrub it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that you don't mind about stinking. Yeah. Let's move on.
And there's a little bit of follow up as well. Can I mention that? We heard from a listener whose name is Corbetron.
Hey.
Corbetron, and he said, "What's with the numbers?" And then he sent me a link to his podcast player of choice, and it said, this is for last week, it said 69, 69. I realised you were right about everything. I don't know what to say, but clearly the Apple thing, it already puts the number in front as well as the number I've added. And I added it, like maybe 8 episodes ago. So for those of you listening on Apple Podcasts, I think you're seeing double numbers. This week will be 70/70. So sincere apologies, but don't use Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, listen to Overcast,
Yeah.
because it's our platform of choice because we like it.
Yeah, exactly. We strongly urge you to listen.
Oh.
Go.
No, listen, right? If you are going to listen to Apple Podcasts, that's fine, but be sure to leave a review. 5 stars, please. Thumbs up, like and subscribe. Perhaps say something about how good our teeth are.
I think that's excellent. I don't know how this is going to go. And then the other thing...
Do you know what,
Simon?
I've just got to be completely honest with you. This has been such a ferociously fucking awful week. I sat down with genuine despair thinking, how am I going to talk to Simon in the light of an imminent world war? I don't know how to do light and breezy and silly and irreverent in the face of, untold casualties and death. And on top of that, it's made me super attuned to all those other conflicts around the world that aren't constantly being talked about. And I was reading a piece in The Guardian, I think it was early this week, or maybe it was last
This is our
week.
newspaper of choice, just in case anyone was wondering about our political alliances. Yep.
Yeah, probably should. I do sometimes read the Wall Street Journal, and sometimes I even read the Times. Shh. I also read the Eye and the Independent.
I read the Telegraph, except only the headings because it's behind a paywall.
Yeah,
I read the
that's
first
a tricky one.
paragraph, and then they stop me reading it.
Do they?
Yeah.
That is so not fair.
I think they see the red heart I have, my communist heart, and they don't let me read it. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want your sort. They're like, no, thanks very
You
much.
say they don't want
we'll...
my sauce.
No, I said sort. I don't know what your sauce would be. That feels
aioli, garlic, aioli.
Okay, good. I'm glad you went there. I was reading something in The Guardian. Link below, everybody, because it's that time of day and that glass of wine where I can't remember who said what, when, or to whom. There was a really lovely piece by a guy, can't remember his name, it will be in the show notes, who was effectively saying the way that lots of the reporting about the refugees leaving Ukraine were being described as looking middle class, looking like us, and the sense that because they are civilized, all of these things are in inverted commas. I'm sure you're hearing that. I hope you're hearing that from my cadence. Serves to reinforce a sensation that those other refugees are somehow not civilized and perhaps deserving of their position of being forced to flee their homes. So
you mean when you say other, you mean other refugees from other countries and other circumstances?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So less white, refugees.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we can think about Syrians, we can think about Palestinians, we can think about all sorts of people who are experiencing land grabs, or we can experiencing being displaced. Yeah, that's the very wordy, long-winded. Oh, that's a change. Way of saying, the wheels feel like they were inevitably going to come off this conversation, Simon, because I don't know how to talk to you.
Can I ask, one thing that I was thinking about this week is, I think it's a question of responsibility, and I think it came up for me because of a conversation last week, which I have to forgive me, those of you listening. I'm never quite sure what's kept in the edit and what's not, but I think this might have been kept in the edit. The question for me is, where is the line in terms of the quantity of information you should seek out about an event like this, which is cataclysmic, it's horrific, and is there a line at which, for you, where there's also your own kind of health, you might say, and your capacity to, I'm going to use the words get on, like just get on. And I don't mean for a second that you should ignore something, but where's that line for you, and have you crossed it or not reached it, or like what's that like for you?
So it's something I've been recently asking myself a similar question, because I'm married to somebody who is voracious in her interests about the world around her. So she reads widely, and then she jumps from one piece of information to another piece of information, and so she tends to know a lot about a lot. Over the years I've become lazy about news, because I just basically
you get the Bob filter.
I did it today. I turned to Bob and I said, just explain to me why we can't impose a no-fly zone, because I don't understand it. Surely you just say you're not allowed to fly over there.
It would involve shooting down Russian jets.
And that's what she said. She said, well, here's the thing. You don't just like put a wall up, Lee. The way you stop people flying over, the way you police it, is you commit to shooting those planes down. And you all commit to shooting those planes down. At the moment, the Ukrainians are allowed to shoot them down. But the moment that we impose or NATO imposes a no-fly zone, then it becomes an issue of all NATO allies having to shoot the planes down. And then I understood. Oh, okay, gotcha. But your question, that doesn't quite answer your question. I think you sent me a link to a video and kind of an explainer, which was really interesting to watch.
Did you watch it?
Yeah. Then I fell down the rabbit hole of watching some other explainers, and I started to look at the why the borders exist in what we laughingly refer to in the West as the Middle East. I watched a couple of explainers on that.
As opposed to the Southeast or the Far East or the Near East.
So I was watching those things, and what became so interesting across all of these explainers was effectively it's all about resources.
Yeah.
So I think my responsibility to news is, I like to try to have a sense of what's happening, but I find it really difficult to get into the weeds of it.
So in a way, you because of Bob's appetite for news and ideas, and she's actually your kind of she's your algorithm she's your news feed.
Yeah. She is my newsfeed, and thankfully she reads much more widely than I do. She doesn't stick to the Guardian.
I remember very strongly that my surprise when I think one of the first times I stayed with you, and she'd gone out and bought all the papers, including what they call the red tops in this country. Mm-hmm. Is that they call them red tops? Is that right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
And so that all that means is that she's
my paywall.
She's your paywall.
Yeah, I think it helps that we talk a lot. I know that some married couples don't engage in conversations a lot. I know that people have different sorts of relationships, and I've been around some this week, and it's just interesting to watch different dynamics. But me and Bob talk almost constantly, but she likes to explain things to me, and I was reading this thing and then she'll report back to me, so it's
part of her understanding of it as well, and remembering.
I think Yeah, I think so. So it's I realize I sound like I'm saying I'm incredibly passive and I don't want to know about the world. What about you? How do you feel? What's your responsibility to news?
Well, I've never bought a Daily Mail or a copy of The Sun. In fact, I don't think I've ever bought it in this country. Oh, I must have bought, when I first got here, I must have bought a copy of The Observer or something on the weekend, which, for those of you outside of the country, is the weekend version of The Guardian. But I try to look at different newspapers online, but I wouldn't look at the Daily Mail online, just because just too much. There's too much stuff in there which in a way I kind of don't understand. Like, there's a lot of celebrity kind of culture that
the red circle of shame.
Yeah, and I just don't.
That's the thing that I think they invented, or at least they popularized, that sense of circling somebody wearing something, and perhaps or
revealing
somebody's
something,
cellulite.
yeah, exactly. I don't, and so I don't. There's just stuff that I think I don't really want to participate in. So that's one thing, is to try and read lots of different sources. But I do tend towards the Guardian, and that's increasingly frustrates me, which I think you know, just because I just find the tone of it, the smugness and the righteousness of the left. It drives me up. It really just, it's too obviously far and consistently far left, or left of centre for sure, for me to feel like I'm getting some sense of other ways to think about something.
That's interesting. Can you talk to your frustration there, given that you know that there is no balance available to you in the world?
No, isn't it? That's so curious in a way. Why would I expect that of that newspaper? When I would have few expectations of other newspapers to be the same. I don't know. That's something about. Maybe it's a sort of there's an idealism there on my part, which is it's pure idealism really, which is and a certain smugness on my own part, which is we should be more concerned about the truth. And so when I'm reading a lot of the stuff in any of these newspapers, but The Guardian, because it's closer to how I think about the world, or my political, I'm just going to say taste, my political ideology, then I have I think I have higher expectations of it than I do for The Telegraph. The Telegraph, I struggle. I mean, it's hard to read, that's for sure. But it's a little like, I guess the equivalent thing would be like, I have higher expectations when I go and see dance performances compared with when I go and see films. Dance is my kind of area, right? It's the thing that I understand deeply. But I think my expectations of dance are far too high. But I'll watch Reacher. It's not highbrow stuff, is it? So I don't know what that sounds like, or whether that's
I was just thinking about that idea of expecting
like balance.
Yeah, expecting balance, and I was just trying to work out why you would expect that, why you would expect a sense of balance from something which is clearly articulating itself as left wing, when right wing output seems to be so,
egregious in terms of it.
Yeah,
sure.
Because I'm thinking about the guy. Is it Sean Hannity?
Yeah, or the Tucker Carlson is the one that's
Maybe it's Tucker Carlson I'm thinking of. But I think there's a couple.
He's Fox News' number one dude.
Yeah, okay, so it probably is Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson was talking about the recent Supreme Court Judge Biden had nominated. And he said, "I want to know her LSAT scores," which is that's the score she got for lawyer school in America, right? Yeah, that's what the LSATs are. I want to know her LSAT scores, and at no point with any of the other appointees that Trump pushed through did he ask that same question, and so there's that sense that not only is it because this is a more centre right appointment, because I'm not going to call Biden left wing, but a more centre right appointment, and also a black woman. suddenly he wants to be able to be assured that she is up for the job. Is she really?
There is a really good bit of writing about that, which I guess is what you read and I read it. It's by Arwa Madawi.
Yes, it was indeed. It came to my inbox because I'm on her mailing list of every Saturday. She sends me an email, or I suspect the Guardian sends me an email on her behalf.
I like the idea that she would send you an email, dear Lee. I know that you've got a better news source than me. Right,
just in
next to
case
you.
Bob hasn't passed this on to you, here are some things I've been thinking about.
Yes. So Tucker Carlson said, so is Ketanji Brown Jackson, a name that even Joe Biden has trouble pronouncing, one of the top legal minds.
Which is so deeply fucking offensive.
It is.
Isn't
It's
it?
true. It's true. So, but the thing about balance, I think it's because I think it would be amazing. I think it would be extraordinary in our time that we weren't being served more in the bubble, that we weren't exacerbating echo chambers. And I think the Guardian is doing that. And I don't want, because, and the thing is about echo chambers is you never know you're in them, right? Because you're just hearing the stuff you want to hear, reading the stuff you want to read. And so
to follow up on the conversation that we had last week, and I didn't really answer your question very well, which was, should a society which wants to resist intolerance, or should a tolerant society be intolerant of intolerance?
It's very difficult for a 2 glass of wine evening for you, isn't it? Do you want us to try one more time?
Should a society which wishes to be tolerant be intolerant of intolerance? I got there eventually.
Bravo.
Thank you. You asked that question yesterday, and my last week, motherfucker.
Yeah. I asked that question. Yes, from last week. Yes.
Yeah, and my then sober brain went off on a little escapade, and it didn't quite answer the question that you had asked.
You did answer it very quickly. You said no.
I said yes, absolutely. It should be intolerant of intolerance. Which I think, in a way, that this is what we're talking about here, about the idea of echo chambers. I understand the anxiety of an echo chamber. I get what you are saying. But at the same time, my worry is to open myself up to Fox News rhetoric or the Daily Mail here in the UK doesn't give me something which effectively nourishes my alternate perspective, but perhaps only serves to allow me to double down on the idiocy of the people who are writing. Because, I will look at them and go, how can you think like that? How can you believe that?
Yeah,
and
so
I
you
worry
dismiss
that
it.
And I worry that the echo chamber, even when I go into somebody else's echo chamber, is so strong that I can't meet it.
But I think, you're talking about, that's a pretty, there are all sorts of in-betweens from Tucker Carlson to whoever's, there are all sorts of nuances which are being exposed to more increasingly broader and deeply reasoned thinking from outside the way I am currently thinking. Right, I'm not talking about Tucker Carlson, because he is.
No, I know you're not.
Right, let's just be clear. And but that, to me, that sort of strengthens. I'd like to imagine that it strengthens my understanding of my role in the world, of how the world functions, and how that's.
I suppose I'm curious just how we gain access to those voices, those.
Well, that's the thing, is at the moment it's our job, in the sense that it's certainly not the Guardian. We learnt from day one that we should never share dreams, because who wants to hear about other people's dreams? But I do want to share a dream with you, because I think you'll enjoy it. In this dream, I was with my mother, and she was desperate to drive me somewhere in the car. And I kept saying, Mum, you can't drive, you're dead. I just like the idea that I don't quite. I'm like the logic of a dream. They're fascinating in a way, aren't they? In that respect, I don't know. I don't know who has ever thought, "Wow, dreams are fascinating." And but yeah, this is something about the problem wasn't that it wasn't that she might. I was thinking, well, you won't be able to see. It wasn't. But I've nothing about what the car was, where we were going. I had none of that information.
Not about the fact that you're having a conversation with her, despite that's not the bit. That's not weird.
No.
Listen, you're dead. You can't drive a car.
I'm going to have to drive you, Mum. I'm going to have to drive this. And also, she was quite clearly dead in the image I had of her. It wasn't like I was talking to an alive version of her. She had all of the, let's call them, trappings of being dead. It was the visual trappings of death. You're looking at me in a really funny way.
It was much cuter in my head than the way you just described it. Now I'm a bit scared. Like, okay, yeah. There's no, yeah. Here, look at my tattoo. Let's just look at that instead.
It's great.